this is where I need to be. I can't focus on the fact that I wish I was at work. I can't focus on the fact that my business is indefinitely closed, whether I want it to be or not. I just have to be here on the bike.
You're busy. You've got a decent practice, but nobody wants to be decent. You want to be great, and you want to have a great practice. So how did the most productive, profitable dentist in the nation balance real life, work, and profits, and somehow make it all seem fun? Well, it comes down to simple, everyday practices. So grab a lunch, join us as we chat with top clinicians and influencers to discover their formula for uncommon success. Are you ready? Then it's time to explore everyday practices.
So is that how you're taking today? Is that how you take every day right now?
No, I think now I'm starting to plan more, and I really give credit to the foundations class on that.
Be honest, you were not like super excited about this program, were you?
Yes and no, but there was a cost to it.
Mm-hmm.
So the cost to it was that I want to spend time with my family. I want to so we do all these things so that way we can cash in and reward ourselves with what we want, right? If you don't have a family, then whatever it is, I want to hang out with my friends. I want to go downtown this weekend and, whatever. So whatever you want to do, and then to be like, no, but rather I'm going to do an online business course with other people and do another Zoom call. I mean, it's another Zoom call.
Yep.
I know there's part of me that was like, I don't want to do that because I didn't want to do any Zoom calls. That was frustrating in that, no, I kind of don't want to do that. But then again, it's like, just because I don't want to do it. I mean, I don't want to get out of bed in the morning. I don't want to work out. I would rather say yes to the extra dessert or the dessert than to say no. Someone just yesterday was walking by and said, hey, do you want some cookies? And I was like, well, I mean, I know I want them, but no. So, there's that distinction between want and need and should. And there was part of me that was like, when they would have the call where we would, the girls would come in and say goodnight while I was, having my class. And I want to be in there reading the book to them, but I'm doing the harder thing by taking that class and working on my business, in spite of the fact that it's like, wait a second, if I'm successful at taking this class, then the goal will be that I can spend time with my family. But in order to achieve that goal, I have to not spend time with my family. This is kind of another paradox.
Yes.
Where it's just like, this doesn't make sense. Why am I spending less time with my family? So that way, eventually I can spend more time with my family. It's just like, well, this sucks. So yeah, there was a cost to it and I didn't like that, but I did it. And so I'm actually, for your sake, Regan, going to share my screen with you to show you what I came up with for my 2-year plan.
So this particular program, this 8-week program, meeting once a week, how many hours a week of homework does it have?
As much as you want, but probably like an hour.
And this is really to help you clarify who you want to become, right?
More so than I realized, and more than I wanted to. I almost wonder if I was, it's back to that word, if I was sabotaging myself, that I didn't want this clarity, but this is subconscious, like maybe psychobabble, where it's just like, I don't know if I wanted this clarity, but maybe that was the problem. It's just like, well, no, I don't want to go work out and get all sweaty and gross and hurt my body, when it's just like, yeah, but you want to lose weight, right? And the same thing with our business, where I'm like, no, I don't want to think about what my core values are. That's dumb. It's just like, whatever the ADA core values are, those are my core values, non-maleficence and all this stuff. Like, oh yeah, well,
I think it can take decades to figure out what your core values really are. And I think Dr. Darren Weber, we interviewed him last week.
Yes.
I think his honesty, his brutal honesty, was one of the most beautiful things I have heard all year long. As he said, I was doing dentistry as a job. It was okay. It was good. I was just doing the motions. And about 8 years in, he suddenly had this, oh my gosh, I am passionate about dentistry, I realized, in certain areas, but now what do I do with that? I think it takes courage, Chad. And I don't think it's easy to do, to say, where do I really want to go? Want to go, because then you have to hold yourself to it. And what if you fail? I mean,
there's courage to this, but at the same time, when you stick your neck out, you're going to get shot at, and maybe it won't land, but you're still like, there's a reason why people don't do courageous things, because they don't like getting shot at. I mean, so it just is what it is. But like, so do you see on my screen, I came up with these 5 core values.
Yes.
And you know where I came up with them? With my team. I had Patty come in and we talked about these things, and we came up with these: honesty, communication, integrity, respect, hardworking. Is there a 6th one? Is there a 10th one? Of course. Just to say that it's not on these top 5, but we reduced it down.
Right. There's where your passive aggressive kind of probably hurt your, maybe just, I mean, it would hurt my ego to hear that, of course, if somebody said that. My daughter's famous, or she used to say, you don't listen to me, Mom.
Yep.
And that hurt so badly to me. And I made the same commitment kind of that you did. I was like, well, then I'm changing that. I'm going to figure out how to change that. So communication being your 2nd core value: honesty, communication, integrity, respect, and hardworking. That had to highlight for you. Like, wow.
What's cool about this was I came up with this by doing a workshop with Patty, who, we're having on
Patty Suey.
That's right. And with my coach, Carrie. So we did this with my dental team, and they helped figure this out, and it all corroborated, meaning that everyone kind of came up with their top 3. And then when we compiled them all together, they kept on coming back to these 5.
Yes. And integrity is a big one. What were you going to say?
I was the one that then came up with the top 5 priorities of what we as an office needed to focus on for the next few months. And those 5 for the listeners are risk factors, our morning huddle, case presentation, scheduling, and being true to our mission statement. So then I wrote out our mission statement, and I talked about, that kind of stuff, and I won't bore everyone with it, blah, blah, blah. Cause everyone's got their own.
What I notice, Chad, that you have is in your top 5 priorities and your core values. So we should I'll have Kashmir screenshot this for our listeners.
Yes.
Risk factors can definitely correlate with honesty. So do you have them listed out on purpose? Because morning huddle is definitely about communication. Oh. I mean, you could swap them out, but I think that's really interesting.
Yeah. Well, this one is a clinical one, risk factors. Morning huddle, case presentation, and scheduling are really 3 administrative they're more administrative. I don't mean admin team, but we have to work on those as a concept, as opposed to, just drill faster. These aren't clinical things like sell more fluoride.
Well, and that's what being productive is. It's not about how much faster you can turn your handpiece. It's the opposite of that.
And so, so in the class, we came up with, what do we want your vision to be? And we talked about, Victoria would talk about that in a video format that you would watch, and then you would discuss it in your group. My vision was, I wanted a motivated team, an investment grade practice, and raving fans who value our state-of-the-art service. And so if I could accomplish that, then I started going, okay, well, now my goals include, and I started writing those out, listing those out, personal and professional, what I wanted to do. And then we started, what even challenged me with that foundations course was coming up with the standard of care. And it's almost like a statement, that's different than the mission statement, but it's talking about
the standard of care is serious to say our team believes in the oral systemic connection of health. Boom.
That's right.
I know you've got sentences after that, but you've hooked me in that first sentence.
Right.
And as we were talking in a previous part here, regarding essential, to me, that is
That's right.
a major reason why I'm so dedicated to dentistry right there. It is a life-saving activity.
Well, so just to give people an idea, so I'll read this out. Our standard of care, our team believes in the oral systemic connection of health. We believe people have the right to know the truth about their health and the options to mitigate their risk factors. We also believe that we can work in harmony as a low drama, high performance team. How cool is that to have that in a standard of care? Okay. And lastly, we believe in treating patients as family and friends, using risk factors to best and most easily manage each patient's health and direct them to solutions. So that was our standard of care. Now, is it right or wrong? Again, it goes back to Matthew McConaughey's book, Green Light, saying that making a decision is more important than just making the best decision, and trying to come up with, ways that we can make this happen, action steps. So check this out. Then she wanted us to write a two-year plan with SMART goals. So I wrote out those few different things. How many are there here? About 15 things for my 24-month plan. And then we started breaking it down, going, okay, what's our 12-month plan to make that 24? Then we went down to 6, then 3. Then I started having action plan for
See, this
each
is
of those
a lot
items.
of work, Chad, in a good
It
way.
was, you
Painful?
know what?
Was it a
Yes.
little painful?
Yeah. Well, just, yeah. It's like how people don't want to go work out because, to be honest, they don't want to hurt. They don't want to lift weights because then their muscles are going to be sore. They don't want to.
Chad, there is no easy button to intentional success.
That's right. So yes, the reason why I ended up taking this foundations course twice was because at the end of the first one, I didn't really have clarity to write out an action plan. And if I don't have clarity in it, then certainly the team doesn't. So, but I took each point by point, and wrote when, who, and what I wanted to do with this action plan. Carrie, my coach, also said, why don't you write out the obstacles for those? And then I started organizing those into like who's responsible for it and writing progress notes on the side of it. And I started tackling these, so that way at the end of the month and at the end of 3 months, I'm 3 months closer to my 6 month, to my 12 month, to my 24-month goal. Because how do you plan on getting a 24-month goal done if you aren't chipping away at it, until the 23rd month? Well, it starts now. How do you make that 24-month into what's your halfway point for that? Now what's your quarter?
You put in this, so you put in your plan, I see personal goals also. So it's not just about the practice, but you have your own personal goals into this as well.
Notice right here, line 26, Chad, continue to work out and get your sleep. When? Daily. Who? Chad. Obstacles, stress, and busyness. I'm just trying to name it, I'm basically trying to come up with an operation system to work around my self-sabotage.
I think that's a beautiful thing. One of the things that bubbled at the surface this year for me is I just ran myself to a point of raggedness.
Yes.
And I thought, okay, so I'm either going to truly burn out, which would be of help to nobody, not the company, nor my family, nor my friends, or I could start to make myself a priority. So I chose to make myself a priority, and getting sleep was a major one for me. I was getting like 4 hours of sleep. I realized so I don't know if you guys have smartphones, like you can do the little sleep timer and it'll show you your cycles and whatnot. And so I thought I was getting plenty. I was actually only getting about 4. How can you really function on 4? Unless you're Steve Jobs?
Right.
Or Mark Costas. Mark, I'm calling you out. So I'm glad that you put that down as a goal to remind yourself of that. So who checks in with you? So you've got this beautiful, gorgeous plan, which is a beefy plan.
Yes. Okay. So what I did,
holds you accountable for this.
So when I then broke it up by due date and by person, I shot an email to everyone, so like these two, I wrote and I said, here's the problem that I'm trying to solve. Here's how I feel like you can help. Are you able to help me by doing this, by doing that? And then I'd write the next person. For example, I wrote Dr. Emily, my associate that's been with me for about 4 years now, three or 4 years. And I said, Dr. Emily, can you help me record the existing case acceptance and also help track the historic case acceptance for each Veranda dentist? Veranda is my office brand name. And is there any way that you can help me track that on a weekly and monthly basis? My goal is to have this in place by December 19th. Can you help? And I'd send the email. The next line, hey, hygienists, I was hoping that you would, and then, I have it listed. I want to get that done by this and that. How I think that you can help is this. At your next meeting, can you guys discuss ways to help me solve that problem? Send. Now, what I'm trying to do is rely on my delegational strength by emailing these people. And I look at emails as a tennis match, that when I shoot an email, basically the ball is literally in their court. They then respond to me, and I'm going to lose if the ball's in my court. So I put the ball into their court and they hit it back. with either a question or a problem or a resolution to it or whatever. And so then I write them back. Regan, for example, that email that you sent a couple days ago, it almost frustrated me that I didn't respond to you because I was like, I don't actually know how to respond. And you earned a point on our tennis game because I was like, I don't like
I
basically
stumped you.
I froze. But most of the time I just ping these emails back and forth and I go, here, Sally, is what I need to work on.
You are extremely
Jessica.
fast with the emails. Yes.
Yeah, I try and be. And it's because I'm trying to ping it out. I do inbox 0. That's why it's a tennis game to me.
But back up a step. So how did you have you informed your team of this plan yet?
Yes, they have access to it on the share because this is a Google document. And then Carrie,
you were
my
very
coach,
transparent with your team.
Yeah, some of these I was like, oh, okay,
right?
I'll share this. But I thought, listen, if I don't admit that I'm fat and want to lose weight, then, I don't put that on Facebook, I am going to lose 100 pounds by, X, then it's like, oh, that's kind of, like transparent to let people know that you're 100 pounds overweight. And it's just like, well, I've got to have some accountability. So yeah, even then it comes back to, if we can get all of our ducks in a row, then let's say that I put this trip out until next Christmas break. It'll be a sweeter victory. It'll be an awesome earned it, and I'll definitely savor it.
What surprised you when you got all of this line down in this beautiful Excel document?
I think it freed me up to know, because this was brought up in the foundations class, that this is fluid, and that at the end of 3 months, then you'll reevaluate, are you at these points that we're looking at on my Excel sheet right now? Are we at those points? And if not, how do we assess and re-situate our position to be able to then get back on track to hit those goals? And then some of them I might hit and some of them I might not. So the ones that I hit, okay, now I'm back to trying to hit that 6-month goal. But some of them are going to go to remediation, where I'm going to have to back up and say, well, we sucked royally at this. In fact, I went to my team, because we did this kind of stuff in September. I went to my team on our monthly business meeting last week, and I said, I've done a horrible job at holding us accountable at doing any of this since September, when we first identified our goals and our issues and our problems and whatnot. Will you guys help me get back on track?
What was the response?
Let's do it.
Was that September of last year or September of this year?
This year. Yeah. So, 3 months have gone by since we were working on making these core values, these are business priorities, and making this standard of care happen, but they were nebulous. That was the first time through the class. And that was when we had our team session where we were talking this over, but I didn't get clarity to this until 3 weeks ago. So mid-November is right around Thanksgiving, that then I said, all right, so here are the specifics. And so, because Carrie pushed me, she's like, let's make some SMART goals. And I'm like, all right. So I even would write over here, that my SMART goals need to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, timely. And then I would ask myself, are these, and I bet some of them might not be. In fact, I printed off this worksheet. It was a questionnaire. Have we been doing what we said we were going to when we wrote them out on these notepad sticky things on the wall, like on what our problems and what our solutions are? And they said, some of those were actually, I didn't know exactly how to respond when I was ranking the team and myself, on how we were doing with this and that. And I said, it's because it wasn't specific, was it? And I said, I actually did that on purpose. I said, it's kind of mean to me, but I said, my goal was to have everyone recognize that it's just like, wow, we haven't really been specific in what that meant. And so, breaking it down to give everyone an example on my 24-month goal, let's say the first one, operational, $1 million in collections per office per year. So that's my 24-month plan. 12 months, I want to work with each doctor on leadership of their team, hourly production goals. So I want to work on each office's team production goals and hourly production goals for each person, and work on each associate doctor's understanding of that. Now that's still not that's getting more specific. Even the 24-month is specific. So I have specificity down, But and I have timely down. I have, I have when it's supposed to be done, but I don't know if I quite have measurable down, and I don't
Right.
know if I have achievable or relevant down yet. So then,
Well, you've got, yeah, it's interesting. In the 12-month, you have something that is a combination of milestones to get you to that 1 million. So
that's right. So I'm breaking it down in half, and then I break it down in half again. So the 6th month says use the P&L tracking to allocate resources to doctors, development, and marketing to achieve $1 million per practice per year.
There you go.
Then I started making it a 3-year, and I started saying, okay, so I'm sorry, not 3-year, 3-month. At 3 months, I want to start tracking with the new accountant, the monthly P&Ls per office to know our overall profitability. And then I broke it down to an action plan. And I wrote down that I want to communicate with the accountant that we need more report reviews and more frequently. That was due a week later as of December 1st. And it was by me, obstacles, none. I mean, if I wanted to be really specific on the obstacles, writing an email, that's it. And so I wrote the accountant and I broke this down. So now, just to give everyone an idea that's not being able to see this, I went down and there's 95 action plans of what and who it's assigned to and by when. And if I can tackle all these mini goals, now all of a sudden trying to bench press 300 pounds is broken down into, okay, next week I need to bench press 125 3 times, so I'm just trying to break it down.
So Chad, in doing all of this work and laying out all of these goals, which has been extensive, what did that do for you mentally?
2 things. It reduced my anxiety because I was a little bit nervous about how to do it all or to even come up with it all. Mm-hmm. It seemed like I was not creating something with Legos. I was creating something with something that you've never created with before. That might be an exaggeration, but like Legos, okay, they're either a 1x2 or a 2x2, a 2x6, like, the sizes and all, and you build within that construct. But this is kind of just like where we're going. We don't need roads. I mean, this was a lot going on.
Pull a Back to the Future quote on me.
Yeah. Back to the Future. So that's the tough thing is it's just like, wait a second, we're not under the construct of roads. So you can fly wherever you want. And it's just like, okay, again, where it was just like, what are your core values? I'm like, I don't know, whatever core values there were. There's millions of them or hundreds. I don't know, at least a few dozen. And
doesn't that get back to communication though? Do you hold a lot in your head and then have expectation? Well, overthink it and have expectations that others will just automatically know what your values are.
Yes. And furthermore, the more that I define them, I'm just like, am I undefining? Like, am I calling the other ones not my core value? Like, are they the non-essential values? I don't know. So yeah.
No, but I think it bubbles to the surface. It's like taking a Clifton Strengths test or any of the strengths tests that are out there. I don't think that it means that the other ones are less important, but there are certain drivers that are important to you. So
the one thing was anxiety, like as far as reducing my nerves about how to get it all done. The next thing is it increased clarity. So like in what I could request from the team. I mean, the team wants to help me, but being able to define those things. So I actually brought in one of my admin people who's not an office manager, but I brought her in and I said, we interviewed someone on our podcast named Ashley Hirschfield. She has stuff called GSD. And I said, the nice way to put that is get stuff done.
Yes.
And so I said, I need you, because on a disc profile, you're my D. I need you to be my GSD girl. I want you to help me be accountable to get these things done. Every Monday, I want you to come in and ask me what 2 things can I help you with this week to attack these goals. You can also, yeah. And so I also went, we actually spent, I hate to say it. I spent 3 hours afterwards. I can't believe I spent this much time, taking up of hers. So I apologize, Maddie, if you're listening. We talked about, okay, in Pleasant Hill, my main office, I need you to make sure that each day for the rest of the year, our last remaining 13 business days, that each day that we're making this much. Now, if we don't make that much, we're not going to, cry about it. Mm-hmm. It's just, I need to make sure that we have a target. And if we don't hit the target, I understand. I mean, I'm not going to take away your paycheck. I'm not going to fire you. Like there's no dire consequences, but without naming what we're trying to aim for, then we're going to be just hitting for kind of whatever. And I don't want that. So I spelled out on the goals, as you can see right here, every day, this gets really specific, but I want people to know that we did this. I built a calendar over here, and I said what each clinician who was working, what their hourly production was. So their production per hour, how many hours they were expected to work that particular day for the rest of December, what their daily production therefore would be, and what our office production. And it varies from day to day on which clinician is where. So I can't just say, well, on average, I think, let's shoot for 5,000. It's like, well, what about when I'm not there versus when I am there?
Right.
And so I added all those up over the next 3 weeks, as you can see here. And you know that Excel, again, is part of my love language. And so if I can spell it out, then we're going to make this collections. And even if we don't, okay, we're aiming for that. And we need to hit this. So I played around with the goals, and then I wrote and I said, on our Facebook private page, we've got a private team page. And I said, for Pleasant Hill, here's what you guys should be, targeting for your goals. And therefore, what does that mean? How can I hit these goals if we're not hitting the goals? What if no patients show up? I mean, how do I hit those goals? Do you bleed a turnip? No, but the fact is you can only do so much. But if those patients are present, are we treatment planning at 3 times that value? So that way we can have a 1/3 case acceptance to be able to hit that goal in our hourly production. So I'm just kind of going back to the basics of making sure that we understand. So what does that mean? That we're just going to force fillings to show up?
Wait, pause. I love that you said that, because it goes back to your core value of integrity. And I think this is a very interesting nuance to talk about. So, so whatever your hourly goal is, you're asking yourself if you treatment plan with integrity 3 times as much. And you can go back and you can look at that and say, okay, what did we present? What did we treatment plan for? If not enough, it could be a marketing question. It could be a how are we scheduling them? So how and who and where are we putting them? So I think it leads to a lot more than it just seems to be an oversimplification to me to say, we just have to treatment, to diagnose this. We just have to treatment to this piece here to make that hourly, because I think there's a lot more components to it. And I love how you can, so transparent. It's so open. They now know this is what we're shooting for. That's clarity.
Yeah. For example, one of the doctors, one of the associates, I said, I need for the next 13 business days, the rest of December at the time, for you to make $323 an hour in production. So I brought this up at our monthly business meeting. I said, but here's the problem. If you're only diagnosing $323 per hour of diagnosis, then you have to have 100% case acceptance. Or what if you go up front and you're treatment planning X dollars, but the person on the admin team just goes, all right, see you later. And it's like, wait a second, was that handoff the way it should have been? So if our handoffs aren't going hot, then, and if we're not following up with those patients, so we talked about that specifically, that if it doesn't necessarily just mean that you're producing at 323 an hour, the question is, ultimately too, we have to collect at a certain percentage. And so I looked historically, what does our production have to be in order to be able to hit this collection number? And you back it up. So what is our diagnosis per hour or per day? And what is our case acceptance per day? And, if you're hitting 100% case acceptance, then you don't have to hit too high of a diagnostic hourly goal, because you're always hitting it 100%. Then you'll hit your hourly production goal. But you swing and you miss, you swing and you hit. And there's, we say in Productive Dentist Academy, there's 3 opportunities of a patient. Maybe, or, meaning maybe later, but not right now. Yes and no. So there's yes, no, and maybe. Those are our 3 overly simplified options of what a patient is going to say. And I'm cool with a third saying yes, a third saying no, and a third saying maybe. And you put those into your annuity. You wait for those people to eventually say yes, a year from now, 5 years from now, whatever. And there's the people that say no. Listen, it's all right. You made that choice. You're going off of your risk tolerance as a patient of, if you care, that this tooth eventually cracks down to the bone and we have to pull this tooth, and you're cool with that, then you've made the best decision for you. And then the other people say, yes, when can we get started? Great, let's go talk that over. But I can't, if I'm trying to shoot for $1,000 an hour in production and I'm only diagnosing 500 an hour, where is that even happening? If I even am doing a case acceptance of 100% at 500 an hour, the most that I can do is 500 an hour. That assumes that the handoff is perfect, that everyone schedules, but I can't hit 1,000 an hour diagnosing at 500 an hour.
Right. Well, and I enjoy the realism of it. So you're seeing the totality, you're seeing all of the picture in that. So you've got Skip Miller is famous for saying, yeses are good, nos are good, maybes will kill you.
Yeah.
Maybes will kill you. So I think it's interesting though, because you think about it from you're looking at it from a very relational standpoint. So maybe the maybes might not be today, but when will they? And everything has to flow perfectly for you to project the numbers that you expect, meaning the handoffs and the scheduling piece. There's all different pieces outside of the dentist itself. These numbers that you've set up for yourself, Chad, and the team, how do these compare to your pre-COVID production goals?
Well, we have so many variables and so many moving pieces in our productivity, because now collections matters the most, because our collections is more equal to our production. So a lot of times, you need to produce at for PPO office, you need to produce at a certain percentage of production over your collection goal, because you're going to get hit by write-offs, et cetera.
Yep, absolutely.
So that's changed for our office, that we're more now concerned about, like our production should equal our collections, as long as, we're collecting it all. And as long as patients are paying and not stiffing us, and insurance isn't, stiffing us. And if they do, does that get passed on to the patient? So there's a few variables in there, but so that's one thing that's changed, is that this year our production can be less than it used to. If you notice, my production per hour is relaxed from where it used to be, but I don't care, because I used to have to produce at 1,500 an hour in order to hit $1,000 of collections. Now I can produce at 1,000 and collect at 1,000. And the good news is, I'll tell you another thing that, is kind of, breaking news as far as me telling you this, but for the audience's sake, when January 1st hits, our fees are going to change. And you should be thinking about that, audience, like, what are you going to change your fees to? The frustrating thing, though, is for a PPO office, you increase your rates by 6% and you get maybe 1% more, right? So it's really frustrating. And I've kind of removed myself from that this year. But as a PR move for COVID, we reduced our rates by 25%. But
that's right.
We've written people saying, get done with your treatment this year, because the 25% ends, this year. And so we tried to create some immediacy, but at the same time, it's also letting them know that it's just like that 25% off doesn't last forever. Furthermore, if we raise our rates by 25%, or technically you'd have to raise it 33% to get back that 25%. That's a weird math kind of thing. But if you lowered it by 25% and then increased it by 25%, it's not back to the 100%.
Regan Robertson here, co-host of Everyday Practices podcasts. Are you finding yourself stuck worrying about the health of your business? Is it keeping you up at night? The truth is, you deserve a business that builds you up and doesn't run you down. We at PDA put our heads together and are offering something we've never done before, and it will give you access to the proven methods you need right now that will plant your feet on the road to productivity today, not weeks, not months or years from now. Go to www.productivedentist.com/foundations and use the code FUTURENOW, all one word, FUTURENOW, for a $700 scholarship.
Bring your lunch or take us to the gym again next week to improve your everyday practices. Also, subscribe on iTunes, follow us on social media, and sign up for our email list. Now get out there and win with Everyday Practices.